Top 7 action isekai anime with no harem. Let's go, guys. Number 7. The Saga of Tanya the Evil. Tanya Dagurachav isn't your typical isekai protagonist. She's a salaryman reincarnated as a blonde loli with the personality of a war criminal and the emotional range of a corporate downsizer. God, or Being X as Tanya refuses to acknowledge, decided this atheist needed a lesson in faith. So naturally, the solution was medieval warfare with magic rifles. Because that's totally proportional. Tanya's not interested in making friends or building a harem. She wants a cushy desk job and early retirement. Instead, she gets the Western Front of not World War I, where she proceeds to commit Geneva Convention speedruns, while her inner monologue screams corporate buzzwords. Optimize efficiency, minimize liability, she thinks, while carpet bombing enemy trenches. Her subordinates worship her. Her enemies fear her. Being X is furious she's thriving. The animation goes absolutely feral during battle sequences. Tanya zooms through the sky like a caffeinated missile, her unhinged laughter echoing across battlefields. Meanwhile, she's internally calculating profit margins and pension plans. It's the most financially motivated violence you'll ever witness. There's no romance, no blushing waifus. Just Tanya, her rifle, and her undying commitment to spite God through bureaucratic excellence and strategic war crimes. It's the art of war meets Office Space, and somehow it works. Tanya proves that the scariest isekai protagonist isn't the overpowered hero, it's the one with a severance package to protect. Number 6. Reincarnated as a sword. Some people get reincarnated as heroes, others as slimes or spiders. This guy? A sword. Not even a legendary holy blade, just a regular sword that happens to have consciousness and an unhealthy obsession with stat grinding. Finally, I can experience adventure, he thinks, lying in the dirt for 3 chapters waiting for literally anyone to pick him up. The isekai dream is dead on arrival. Enter Fran, a catgirl slave with trauma baggage heavier than a truck-kun collision. She finds Sword-kun, and instead of the typical isekai, "Oh wow, a talking weapon, how quirky" reaction, she immediately weaponizes him to murder her captors. Finally, a protagonist with priorities. Fran doesn't want a harem, she wants freedom, curry, and maximum violence. Sword-kun becomes her enabling helicopter parent, constantly worrying while she commits justified homicide. Their dynamic is wholesome chaos. Sword-kun acts as her mentor, skill tree optimizer, and anxious dad friend who can't actually hug her because, well, Blade. Fran evolves from a traumatized child into an absolute combat monster, and Sword-kun is there for every level up, internally screaming with pride. The action slaps. Fran's fighting style is raw and brutal. No flashy hero moves, just pure I learned combat through survival energy. Meanwhile, Sword-kun provides tactical commentary like a sports announcer with separation anxiety. It's wholesome, found family meets monster-slaying grind set, and somehow a sentient weapon raised a better adjusted protagonist than most human parents in anime. Number 5. The Faraway Paladin. Will is reincarnated in a city of the dead, raised by 3 undead guardians, Blood the warrior skeleton, Mary the priestess mummy, and Gus the mage ghost. It's basically the Addams Family, but with more existential philosophy and 0 romantic subplots. Will spends his childhood learning swordsmanship from bones, theology from bandages, and magic from ectoplasm. Most kids get bedtime stories. Will gets lessons on mortality from corpses. Totally normal. But this isn't your typical power fantasy isekai. Will actually learns things like reads books, trains properly, and grapples with moral philosophy instead of instantly unlocking cheat abilities. Revolutionary concept. His guardians love him unconditionally while hiding the devastating truth about their existence. And when Will finally learns their secret, the emotional payoff hits harder than a Divine Smite critical. The tone shifts from cozy, undead family slice of life to Will ventures into the actual world and realizes living people are way more complicated than his dead family. No harem appears because Will is too busy having a religious crisis and honoring his oath to Gracefield, the goddess of the flame. His vow isn't to protect cute girls, it's to bring light to the Forsaken. Imagine having actual principles. The animation is gorgeous when it wants to be, especially during Will's divine contract ceremony. This is isekai for people who want character growth, genuine emotion, and a protagonist whose power comes from earning it rather than I died and got OP stats lol. Number 4. Knights and Magic. Ernesti Echevarria, or Rue, is a mecha-obsessed programmer who died and got reincarnated into a fantasy world with giant magic robots. His reaction? Unhinged squealing. Forget saving the kingdom or defeating demon lords. Eru's life goal is to build and pilot the sickest Silhouette Knight magic mech possible. He's not the hero this world needs, he's the obsessive engineer it deserves. Eru is so hyper-fixated on robots that romance doesn't even register on his radar. Girls confess? He's sketching mech blueprints. Nobles offer political marriages? He's calculating thrust-to-weight ratios. His entire existence is, what if we made the robot cooler? And honestly, it's refreshing. No accidental harem, no dense protagonist tropes, just pure, unfiltered mecha autism. The kid is also ridiculously overpowered, but it's fine because he uses his cheat abilities exclusively for robot construction. He speedruns Magical Academy, becomes a knight at an absurd age, and immediately starts customizing his mech like it's a Gundam model kit. His teammates are just along for the ride, watching this tiny child revolutionize warfare through sheer nerd energy. The battles are gorgeously animated. Silhouette knights clash with weight and impact, magic swords clash, and Eru pilots with the unhinged glee of someone living their absolute best life. There's political intrigue, monster invasions, and military strategy, but it all takes a backseat to Eru's singular obsession, making the robot cooler. It's Isekai for the mecha heads, and it's glorious. Number 3, Drifters. Drifters said, what if we took history's most violent figures and dropped them into a fantasy world? And somehow it's not a harem anime, it's a bloodbath with strategic warfare and zero chill. Toyohisa Shimazu, a samurai who died at Sekigahara, wakes up in a corridor of doors and gets yeeted into a world where elves are enslaved, dragons exist, and the villains are literally Jesus and Joan of Arc, but evil. Fantasy tropes are getting their necks snapped speedrun style. Toyohisa teams up with Oda Nobunaga, yes, that Nobunaga, and Nasu Sukitaka Yoichi, and together they form the most unhinged hero party imaginable. There's no power of friendship speeches, just tactical genocide against the Orte Empire. Nobunaga's strategy? Let's teach medieval peasants gunpowder warfare and watch the war crimes unfold. Toyohisa's strategy? Charge directly at the problem screaming. The opposing faction, the Ends, includes Hannibal, Rasputin, Anastasia, and Black King, implied to be Jesus. It's history's greatest hits as told by someone with severe creative bloodlust. The animation by Drifters is gorgeously violent, blood sprays with artistic flair, and battles feel genuinely brutal. No romance, no harem. Just historical figures committing war crimes in Fantasyland while cracking jokes and arguing about tactics. The elves are freed through military revolution, not the power of love. It's Kingdom meets Hellsing Ultimate, and every episode is beautiful chaos. Toyohisa doesn't want a waifu. He wants honourable death in battle, and that's somehow the purest motivation in Isekai. Number 2. Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash. Welcome to Grimgar, where Isekai stops being a power fantasy and becomes a job. No cheat skills, no instant levels, just a group of confused amnesiacs waking up in a fantasy world and realising they're broke, talentless, and one bad decision away from goblin food. They don't get a quest, they get poverty. Their first boss battle? One goblin, and it takes 20 minutes and emotional scarring to kill it. Haruhiro leads the world's saddest adventurer party. Minato, the responsible one who, spoiler, dies horribly early and tries everyone. Yume, energetic but broke. Shihoru, anxious mage with crippling self-doubt. Ranta, edgelord who never shuts up. And Mogzo, tank with a death flag you can see from space. They're not heroes, they're gig workers grinding quests to afford rent. Romance? Barely. Harem? What budget? The animation is watercolour gorgeous, giving everything a melancholic, dreamlike quality that screams you're watching beautiful people suffer economically. Every battle feels earned. These aren't warriors, they're desperate kids learning to survive. When someone dies, it matters. The grief is raw, the recovery is slow, and the show refuses to respawn or reverse consequences. Grimgar is Isekai as emotional realism. No overpowered protagonists, no plot armor, just vibes, trauma, and the grinding realization that fantasy worlds have rent. Haruhiro doesn't build a harem, he builds coping mechanisms. It's beautiful, depressing, and the closest Isekai gets to actual stakes. Poverty is the real final boss. Number 1. Log Horizon. Shiro is a socially awkward strategist who gets trapped in Elder Tale and an MMO turned real life, and instead of panicking, he immediately starts optimizing society. No harem, no romance, mostly. Just tax policy, governance structures, and economic reform. It's the most unsexy isekai premise that somehow becomes absolutely riveting. Shiro doesn't want waifus, he wants sustainable infrastructure. 30,000 players are trapped in the game, and while everyone's panicking, Shiro's already 3 steps ahead, forming the Round Table Alliance to prevent societal collapse. His superpower? Bureaucracy. He manipulates GameX, invents banking systems, and negotiates treaties with NPCs, who are now people with feelings. The man weaponizes accounting. His catchphrase should be, "It's all according to plan," an Excel spreadsheet. The cast is fantastic. Akatsuki, ninja who swears loyalty but isn't romantic, Naotsugu, horny comic relief who's actually loyal, and Nyanta, cat samurai who speaks in meows and wisdom. They're not a harem, they're a functional guild. The focus is politics, strategy, and the existential horror of, what if we're trapped here forever? Answered with, then we'd better build a functioning government. Action exists, but takes a backseat to world building. Raid battles are tactical puzzles. The real battles are in council chambers. Log Horizon proves Isekai doesn't need harems or overpowered protagonists. It needs intelligent writing and a hero who solves problems with game theory. Shiro's the Isekai protagonist for people who play Civilization at 3 a.m.